I remember growing up hearing a lot about aliens, particularly in the New Age, ancient aliens, things like
Hmm.
that. And I had someone close to me have some pretty strange stuff happen to them, and they attribute it to aliens. They thought maybe this is another life force from another planet that's making these things happen to me. And they weren't too concerned about it because they thought maybe they were, kind or just higher spiritual beings.
Hmm.
Uh, until recently, we really haven't seen a lot of Christians talk about this topic. What would you say aliens and UFOs are, in your opinion?
Well, the majority of them, like 95% plus or minus roughly, are they can be explained naturally through misidentifications, weather,
Mm,
those kind of things. But the fewer percent that are really actual UFOs, what Hugh Ross calls RUFOs or residual UFOs, uh, they could either be, if you don't know what they are, they could be either be a craft that we have as the U.S. government, or it could be a craft from another um,
mm,
country, or it could be something that One of the main theories is the extraterrestrial hypothesis, or alien spacecraft. And then the other view is interdimensional, which would include physical beings or spiritual, like demonic type beings.
hmm.
So I tend to argue that the fit, and there are some. What got me interested in this really is there are non-Christian academic researchers who think that are saying the same kind of things that Christians are saying. That
Hmm.
they might not be physical, they don't seem to be physical, and they exhibit a lot of characteristics that we tend to associate with demonic forces. Even non-Christians say that, who are professional researchers on UFOs. One of my interests in this actually is the U.S. history, especially as it relates to the Air Force,
Hmm.
because it's just really interesting to me as to how what all started with the Air Force. The Air Force started in September of 1947, but
Hmm.
Roswell and Kenneth Arnold, that really started off the modern UFO age, started in 1947 in the summer. So when the Air Force became an entity, it was already embroiled in all this UFO stuff.
Hmm.
And so the history there is really interesting. It's undeniable what was going on. There are some national security implications. Like they, for example, had um, UFO sightings over bases, and then right then they had about 20 or so intercontinental ballistic nuclear missiles go offline. And of course, we see a lot of the stuff coming out now with the Navy, and Congress had its first hearing last year in 50 years since the Air Force Project Blue Book. So there's a lot of stuff. So I want to go into that,
Yeah.
and then I want to look at the different theories that are out there, and then make a case for the demonic aspect of it as well. And there's one aspect that no Christian is going into, and it has a lot to do with our apologetic methodology for how we argue for things like the resurrection and how we argue for UFOs. There's a lot of similarities there, and I want to go into that as well.
Yeah. You know what? Let me parse that out a little bit more. What do you mean by that? What? Yeah, that's so interesting. Nobody's talking about it. What do you mean? Tell me more.
Um, what?
Yeah, I'm so interested.
Yeah, I did a conference talk on this last year at our national conference, which I guess you were at, and the way that we argue for the resurrection, the kinds of reasons that we have, that we give as apologists,
Hmm.
are the same kinds of reasons that we give for um, people having UFO experiences, or especially abduction experiences.
Hmm.
And a lot of the objections and even the responses to those are gonna be very similar. So just the way in which we argue, the kinds of objections and the kinds of responses are kind of tit for tat. And so that has some pretty interesting implications for apologetics. Yes, I'm being a little vague on this because this hasn't been developed before. I'm just kind of developing this now, and I want to be able to do a good job, and just a little teaser there. It'll come out more.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely interested. So we'll have to keep a lookout for that, especially when your book comes out. It would be great to kind of read up on that and have you parse it out more for your readers. So let's talk about aliens themselves. This is something I remember growing up with. I mean, I was in the New Age, but I was more into New Thought, which is
Uh-huh.
different. But people that have been in the New Age, they really got caught up in a lot of, well, I call it ancient aliens, but like
Right.
theosophy. A
Hmm.
lot of the stuff that we have in the New Age can really be traced back to Helena Blavatsky and theosophy and all of these interdimensional being ideas. What are your thoughts about aliens? What are they, and how do you make sense of people's experiences with what they would consider to be an alien entity?
And this again is what got me interested, because you've got a lot of very high level academic researchers
Yeah.
who
Hmm.
are not Christian and even explicitly not Christian, saying the same things that we're saying as
Hmm.
Christians. So, for example, you've got some who think they're physical beings and some who don't. So, but a lot of them really don't think they're aliens. A lot of the, like John Keel, J. Allen Hynek, who worked with the Air Force, he was the top scientist with the Air Force during Project Blue Book, even before them.
Hmm.
Jacques Vallée, who was very well known, he actually had the character in Close Encounters of the Third Kind was patterned after him,
Hmm.
the French character. So he's probably the top ufologist today, and he makes really good arguments that these are not and really cannot be aliens in the sense of coming from another planet for various reasons.
Hmm.
For example, he thinks that as a naturalist, he doesn't believe in God. At least it doesn't seem like he believes in God. He says for the chances of beings to just come about randomly like us through evolution, who have the same anatomical structure, same ability to see on the wavelength we see, the same ability to hear things.
Hmm.
It's just not going to happen mathematically speaking. And he's in a unique position to say these things because he is an astrophysicist and also a computer scientist. So
Hmm.
he knows how to take the data and collate it and systematize it very well. Lots of problems with interdimensional travel. He says things like, well, we have so many occurrences and supposed landings and abductions and those kind of things that it just doesn't make any sense for that number of sightings, landings, and whatever to happen if there really were aliens from somewhere else. And they're different. They're different species. They look different. Their craft are different. So it would have had to have happened several times on different planets or whatever. And so it just doesn't make a lot of sense. He gives more evidence than that. If you want more, I can give you more.
Hmm. No,
Um,
that was good. Yeah.
and then the fact that they do things that seem to defy physics, like fly at thousands of miles an hour and perform right angle turns, 180-degree turns, just disappear and reappear. They don't seem to be physical beings. And even these non-Christian ufologists, especially Jacques Vallée and John Keel, are
Hmm.
saying that. If you heard of the Mothman prophecies, that's John Keel. He's really well known in the paranormal circles. But you also have aspects of not only the immaterial aspects of these beings, whatever
Hmm.
they are explicitly anti-Christian, not just anti-religious, but
Yeah.
anti-Christian.
Hmm.
And a lot of the writings that you've alluded to, things like that are in the New Age, or New Age is very similar to things in ufology, explicitly downplaying the deity of Jesus. Um, they they a lot of the phenomena parallel UFOs and the New Age. So, for example, there was a lady in the late 1940s who was collating a lot of this information, and Keel cites her, and she says many of the UFO reports now being published in the popular press recount alleged incidents that are strikingly similar to demonic possession and psychic phenomena, which has long been known to theologians and parapsychologists.
Hmm.
So there's just a lot of people who are into the UFO stuff or have abductions or really close encounters. Oftentimes, either themselves are somehow in New Age occultic type stuff, or their parents were, or something like that. There's just a lot of similarities. Poltergeist activity.
Hmm.
It's not usually just UFOs or abductions.